Here's a scenario. You're looking for a college, you're interested in engineering, you're not sure where to go, but you find a great school that has a degree called engineering or even general engineering, and you're wondering, does this make sense? Is it okay to major in general engineering? All the other schools seem to have discipline-specific engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering. Is it okay? In this video, we're going to be going through different information that is available about general engineering, looking at what these programs are, what you can expect to get out of them, where you can get a degree in general engineering, and what you can expect as student outcomes. So we will get right into it. All right, so what is general engineering? It is comprehensive, it's interdisciplinary, and it is flexible. When we look at programs that are discipline specific, they are very specific and focused on a discipline within engineering, and you will get a lot of classes within that discipline. So if you're majoring in mechanical, you'll take lots and lots of mechanical engineering classes. Where if you're in general engineering, you're going to have more flexibility and you're going to have a more interdiscipline approach to your education. What you will find is that if you are going to a school that has a lot of different specific majors and you're majoring in the general engineering option, you will be taking or have the opportunity to take classes that are hosted by lots of different majors. So you might take 2 in mechanical, 3 in civil, 1 in electrical, whatever it is that works for you and your career interests, and that you work out with your academic advisor as being a good option for you. You can take all of those things. And that really gets us to the flexibility part of this. Often, general engineering is designed in a way where it is flexible, so the student can decide what their interests are and what classes will get them to where they want to go. And so you can tailor your program to be whatever your interest is. If you're interested in robotics, but there's no robotics engineering at the school, then you can take all of the classes that would help you get to being a robotics engineer. And while the degree will not say robotics engineering, it will say engineering, and you will be able to go get that job in the discipline that you're interested in. Now, in general, general engineering degrees give students the ability to identify, formulate, and solve complex engineering problems by applying principles of engineering, science, and math. This is the statement that we use for every engineering. It just doesn't have a discipline specific on it. So this is a statement that says that you, as a degreed engineer with a general engineering degree, are going to come out and be able to solve problems, and you're going to be able to apply principles of engineering, science, and math to those problems. You're going to be able to solve them. Now, as a general engineer, you will not have as deep of a knowledge base in one discipline, but you will have a broad exposure to many areas of engineering and be able to address problems in many different areas. So I've been in the engineering industry for more years than I care to say, but it is more than a quarter of a century. And I will tell you that for the most part, we hire engineers because they have logic, skills, they are able to solve problems, not because they're an expert at some specific piece of thermodynamics. Now, if you're in design, I was in structural design for a while. I would not have been able to get that without structural engineering knowledge and a very specific knowledge in that area. But once I left that design engineering firm where I was doing bridges, I got into areas that were much more broad. I got into quality engineering, construction management. All of those things require you to have a broad knowledge base of a lot of different disciplines, not a deep knowledge of one specific area. So what I have found where I am now, being in construction, maintenance, and operations, is I prefer to hire general engineers because they have that broad base and broad exposure. And I don't have to teach an electrical and mechanical stuff because the general engineer has already learned electrical and mechanical, for example. So there are some significant advantages to being in a more broad major like this, where you get exposure to a lot of different things. Now let's talk about ABET. So ABET is the accreditation body that accredits all engineering schools in the US and some abroad. They have a defined curriculum for engineering degrees, and for a general engineering degree, what they say is you just have to meet our foundational requirements that apply to all majors. And what that does is that gives the school and the students more flexibility to define what comes after that. So the general foundational requirements for ABET for an engineering program, and therefore for general engineering, is 30 plus semester credit hours of math and science. This is why when you go to engineering school, there you will see calc and differential equations and those types of things, physics, chemistry. Those types of requirements meet this requirement here. And then 45 semester hours of engineering topics appropriate to the program. So specifically saying appropriate to the program leaves it to the definition of the school and what they're able to present to their accreditors as being appropriate to the program. So those are specifically engineering and computer science areas, engineering design, and modern engineering tools and how to use them. So a bigger number, more expectations, but specifically tailorable to the program. Now that is when they're getting accredited, not when you go and want to define your own program. You will have to do some basics that are already agreed with the accreditation body. So look at them closely, understand what the school is requiring of you if you're interested in getting a general engineering degree there. In addition to the technical stuff, ABET requires broad educational component. So some schools will just say you need X number of credits in liberal arts and sciences. Some will say you need English and you need ethics and you need all these specific things. But it is an accreditation requirement that you have a broad education that goes beyond just technical. Now, one thing I will say is if you're getting a general engineering degree from a liberal arts college, you're going to get a lot more of this because the liberal arts college wants to give you a liberal arts education, and then they will add the technical piece of it to give you that engineering degree. So there are definitely a wide variety of requirements that fit this piece of the ABET curriculum. Okay, and then one thing that's common across all engineering degrees at all schools is that you will have a culminating major engineering design experience. Sometimes these are called senior design, some of them are called capstone, but it is essentially an experience at the end of your school where you're going to be incorporating engineering standards and constraints, and you are going to be demonstrating that you have acquired knowledge and skills in your earlier coursework. So this is typically what this looks like is a group project at the end of your education where you are working with other engineers to do a project. A lot of schools and the good schools will have partners with companies, and they will have a real world issue that you are solving in that senior design. Sometimes you'll be grouped with everyone in your major, or maybe you'll get a group that is cross-discipline and people with different majors. There's a lot of different ways that schools do this, but you will have a hands-on experience where you are solving a problem using the knowledge and skills you've acquired throughout your time. When it comes to degree names in general engineering, there is quite a variety. You'll see that the vast majority of these are just called engineering, but there's quite a long list here, and some of them are the onesie-twosies. So we'll just go through this. ABET says there are 146 programs that are accredited under this requirement set. But they can be things like engineering, general engineering, interdisciplinary engineering, integrated engineering, and multidisciplinary engineering. All of those names are essentially along the same lines. You're going to be across different disciplines. You have multiple disciplines. You are going to be general. Those kind of describe the same thing. Then you get into engineering physics and engineering science. So these ones are accredited under the same rules, but if you look at the specific programs, what you will see is there will be more physics classes and more science in general classes for the engineering science. So in these ones, you're getting an engineering degree. So you are an engineer, you are just having that science aspect integrated with it. And so you will have a deeper dive into either physics or different disciplines within science combined with the engineering degree. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that a couple of these have the word design in them. So if you talk to any practicing engineer who graduated 30 years ago, 20 years ago, um, none of us knew what design engineering was, or we have a very different understanding of it. In my world, I think of design engineering as being the group of engineers who sit in an office and use a computer to design stuff. That is opposed to field engineers who are in the field making sure that the designs are working in the field and making calls about what needs to happen. Manufacturing engineering can be similar, but in a manufacturing environment. So design to me is sit in an office and design, but can be lots of different disciplines. That is not the case here. Engineering design, design engineering, and integrated design engineering programs are at a couple schools. These are more about bridging the gap between the creative and the technical. We have a video here on this channel about design engineering and my specific experience with that, because that's my daughter's major right now. She is at the 1 for design engineering. I will provide that link. Go check that out if you're interested. There's a lot of interesting stuff mixed in with that. And it's really focused on being a creative person within a technical discipline. And that can be perfect for a lot of students, especially if you're interested in going into things like immersive art design or themed entertainment or some things that are in our world that we use all the time that are an absolute blend of creative and technical. And traditionally, we've had to hire a technical person and a creative person, but if you could get them together, that would be awesome. So lots of different options here. You will see that engineering, plain engineering with no other word, is by far the most common. But if you see any of these programs named as you're looking through colleges, just understand that they are based on the same requirements, but that set of requirements leaves a lot of flexibility. So that gets into the question of what type of school. So there's a couple different types of schools that offer general engineering, and you're going to have a very different experience with the major depending on where you go. So liberal arts colleges, these are colleges that are based on liberal arts. Their intent is to give you a liberal arts education. You are going to be somebody who understands the world around you, who can interact with everyone, and you're going to have a lot more writing and those types of classes if you go to liberal arts college. And then you get the engineering degree. So that means you're taking those math and sciences, you're taking those engineering classes that's giving you enough of a technical knowledge and skill set that you're able to become an engineer in the real world, but you have that bigger picture of the world around you. So I like to hire general engineers because they have a broad understanding of a lot of disciplines. But liberal arts college engineers have that broad discipline, but they also have that ability to work with people and the different view of the world that you just don't get if you go to a large public research university and major in a specific discipline of engineering, because in that case you are so focused on the technical aspects that you don't really have a whole lot of time for the liberal arts aspect. So we do have a video on Harvey Mudd. That's one of our most popular videos. So take a look at that. I will provide the link and get more information on Harvey Mudd specifically. If there are other colleges that are liberal arts colleges where you're looking at engineering and you would like more information, please let us know. A lot of these schools don't share details, but we can absolutely share what we can find. Okay, the next category is teaching focused private universities. So teaching focused generally is like no grad program, no PhDs. They're very focused on undergrad. They want to make sure that you are getting that teaching in a way that is thorough and you're getting the attention you need. Um, when you think about different types of colleges, just think of them from like the professional standpoint. So if you're a PhD in something and you love teaching students, you're going to go to a teaching focused private university or maybe a liberal arts college. You're probably not going to try to get a job at a research university that's heavily focused on grad students. On the other hand, if you want to, discover the world's next whatever, and you're really focused on research, you're probably going to go to those larger schools. They're going to have you teach some, but that's not really going to be your focus. So if you're looking at these teaching focused private universities from a general engineering standpoint, you're going to get people who are interested in teaching, but they're large enough that you have more of option of classes than you would with the liberal arts colleges. The next category is regional public universities. These are the state schools. They're the locals. They're probably going to be your cheapest option when looking for a school if you don't have a lot of scholarships that are going to pay you going elsewhere. These are also schools that are regionally known. So the reason they're called regional public universities is because if you don't live near them, you might not have heard of them, but they can be well respected locally. And when you're looking for a job, what you want to see is that these colleges and universities have relationships with local employers. Now, when you think about an engineering career, it's really about making sure you're going somewhere where you can get your career kicked off. In 10 years, nobody's going to care what school you went to. They are going to care what experience you have. And so if you live in New Mexico, for example, and New Mexico State is near you, or it is a very cheap option for you, it may be a good option to go into general engineering there, but just make sure that the school has the relationships with local employers that you're going to be able to get that first job. And then, 2 years, 5 years down the road, you can go move if you want, or you can always stay local for the rest of your career, which is a great option for a lot of people. Okay, the next category is large research universities. We talked about these, how they're attracting professors and teachers who want to focus on research quite often, and they will be teaching you as an undergrad. So it's just a different type of delivery. You'll see a lot of well-known names on this list. They all have general engineering options, and typically what these options are is it's an alternative to a discipline specific. So this is where you most likely are going to get the degrees where you have options, and you can design your own major or something like that within the parameters that the school sets. But if you're very interested in a specific industry or something like that and you want to focus on it, then these are going to give you the option to branch out to all of the classes that are offered by the university, or most of them, and put together a set of classes that will result in a degree that works for you. The last type of school we're going to look at is specialized STEM schools. A lot of these have general engineering, like the large research schools. They offer them as an alternative to the more specific discipline specific degrees that you can get. Some of these are very successful, and they offer you the ability to really understand where you want to go and what you want to do with it. My daughter goes to Colorado School of Mines. I know that a lot of students will start out in a discipline specific program, and then what they'll do is they'll change over to what they call design engineering because they want to do something that's more specific that the school doesn't have an entire degree on. So there are some specific areas that you can do in environmental or robotics or controls those types of things where there's not a named degree, and also the named degrees like such as mechanical don't allow you enough flexibility to define what you want. Also, schools like mines and Rose-Hulman are very much hands-on schools, and so you're going to be doing a lot of group projects. You're going to be doing a lot of interaction and working together with people of your discipline and other disciplines to create something that solves an engineering problem. At schools like that, you are going to have a lot of hands-on education regardless of what discipline you're in, but the design engineering or the interdisciplinary engineering or the general engineering, you're actually having more of that because that's what they're focusing on. So more details in specific videos on a number of these schools. Go check out our list if you are interested in any of them. I highly recommend specialized STEM schools. I think they are a great way to get a good education, surrounded by other people who are as focused on success as you are. So go check them out. A number of these have very good student outcomes, and they're definitely worth spending time looking at and considering, even if you had not considered them before. Student outcomes. It's very important. If you watched any of our videos, you will know that I think that student outcomes are the number one thing to consider when looking at a school. And I know that everyone makes their own outcomes and you make your own success, but it sure is better if you are surrounded by people who are also successful and that the environment you're in sets you up for success rather than you having to fight against everything to be successful. So when we look at schools, we really look at how many of the students that are graduating are successful, and that is defined by NACE as within 6 months of graduation, the students either are in grad school or they are employed, or they're doing something else they want. If you wanted to go volunteer or you wanted to do something else, that's also a positive student outcome. But we don't want students to graduate from 4 years of college and not be able to get a job when they want to have a job, or not be able to go to grad school when they want to. And so it's really important to understand what these schools are giving you as far as a service. It is fine that they're giving you a degree, but what they are also giving you are connections, a network. They're giving you employers who look at that name and that degree and saying, yes, I want to hire that person before they go talk to you, even. Because for them to go in and say, I want to hire a person from Rose-Hulman this year, then you show up, it's a lot easier for you to get a job than for someone to not have ever heard of the school, not know that the grads from there are successful, all of those things. So this is very important, and they do vary even within general engineering. I would say possibly more than other disciplines. They vary because it's really up to the school to work with employers for them to understand what these things are. So let's just go through a few. Elon University, the title of the program is engineering. The data for the entire school, not just the engineering degree program, is 96%. Excellent outcomes. You go to Elon, you can be confident you're going to get a job. Endicott College, small liberal arts college in Massachusetts, their degree is called engineering, and they have a 99% student outcome rate for the entire school. Harvey Mudd, also engineering. This last year they had a 77% positive student outcome rate. That is significantly lower than it's been in the last few years, and I highly suspect this is because they have a quarter of their school is in computer science. Another quarter of their school is engineering, but everything is STEM related within the school. So while this number is low, it represents a dip from previous results, but definitely worth looking at. We do have a video on that if you want to check it out. Okay, Swarthmore College, highly selective liberal arts college, also has engineering, and they have an overall entire school placement rate or student outcome rate of 90%. And then we're going to get into some larger schools that have more disciplines and happen to have a general engineering major. So Rose-Hulman, I mentioned them. They're very much hands-on, 100% student outcome rate. The school right now is saying, I think they have 6 disciplines where they had 100% positive student outcome rate. That's pretty typical for them. So excellent results there. It is in Indiana and it's private, but they give a lot of financial aid. So go check them out. We do have a video that I'll provide the link to. And then University of Colorado Boulder has what they call integrated design engineering. Their student outcome rate is 71%. Now, Rose-Hulman and Boulder, both, these numbers are both for this specific degree program, not for the entire school. I will say that the Boulder outcomes for integrated design engineering are along the lines of what their entire engineering school is. So this is not just lower because it is general engineering, it's because it's Boulder. So it is worth looking at different schools. Check out different outcomes. Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into instead of just going with a big name school or something that you know, because big name where you are may not be a big name elsewhere, or may not provide the outcomes that you want for your specific major or even your specific college. Okay, things to know. So when choosing a major in engineering, you have to understand there's a lot of overlap between the disciplines, which is why general engineering exists. Do not worry too much about picking the right discipline when you start, because you can always change, or you can always go into general engineering and get a broad education. But the first part of your engineering journey in school will be similar, so don't worry about it. And even when you get further along, if you find out you're in the wrong one, there's a lot of overlap. Don't sweat it. Your degree will not define you, and it will likely not define your career. It might define the first couple jobs you get or the first job you get out of school, but you define everything after that. So make it happen where you want it to happen. Don't worry about the piece of paper and what discipline you have, or what specific engineering or not specific engineering. And a general degree, like general engineering, is not going to prevent you from going into something specific. Either you can get that a specific thing when you graduate, or if you don't, go do some online training or have a hobby or something related to what you want to do, and just move into that in the future. Keep an eye out for jobs. Keep yourself flexible. But getting a general degree is not going to prevent you from going into something specific that you really want to do. Okay, understand industry supply versus demand, but don't base everything on it. This one is particularly important right now with computer science and computer engineering, is there is so much supply, as in so many students going into this. A couple years ago, schools were struggling with how to grow their computer science and computer engineering programs enough to get to accept all of the students that were trying to apply. And now we have decreasing demand with lots of companies laying off people in that area. And so that supply versus demand thing is not good right now. It might be good in 4 years when you graduate if you're just looking. But just understand that when you're going in, don't base everything on it, but just understand what is happening in the market as far as jobs. If you hear things like the job market right now is really bad, don't believe that and use that as an excuse to not get a job. You need to get creative. We do have a video on how to get your first job. Go do other things, but understand the industry and understand how you can get in. And there is an amazing variety of jobs in every discipline, in every area of engineering. There's an amazing number of jobs that you never knew existed. So just go out there. Don't limit yourself to what you think is your dream. Just go get something. Okay, and then when it comes to advancement, interpersonal skills are often more important than technical skills. You can be really great at doing thermodynamic calcs, but if you can't talk to the person next to you or lead a team, you're not going to be able to advance. Use your college time to hone your interpersonal skills while also getting through all your classes and getting that technical education. But those interpersonal skills are vitally important, which is why employers like schools that are hands-on, because we know that students are spending their time working in groups and getting things done. And that's what we do when we get into real life also. Okay, your career path will lead you places you cannot imagine right now. I have worked and lived on 3 continents. I have traveled to every inhabited continent. I have taken my kids along for that journey. I never imagined that would happen. I love traveling, but I didn't think I was going to go work in Australia or the Middle East. That's just not something that I was imagining at the time. But open yourself up to things. Take new paths. Don't define right now what your rest of your life is going to be, because you'll go places that you just don't even know exist right now. All right, well, that's what we have. General engineering. This is Bridging the Gap Student to Engineer. Please like the channel if you found this helpful. Subscribe, share with a friend, and we will see you on the next one.